Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This Friday, the 21st of March 2014. Who is afraid of Virginia Woolf? Who's? And to paraphrase this, who is afraid of the markets? Remember this because later on we'll explain why we are choosing this title today for our recapitulation of the markets and the world politics of who is afraid of Virginia Woolf. The markets today, they closed down 22 points at 1,599, which is of course up 122 points since last week's 1,477. There is a volatility, there is an uncertainty from what happens around, and of course too many ships are still to come in the market. That will create havoc, and we stick to this. It's important to know that since the last closing of December 2013, and we reiterate every time we are organizing an event as such, to explain to you the importance of this fall. From 2,227, we are now 28% still down, which if we express it into points is 628 points from that last closing of December. Overall, we can say that one category, such as the Capes, still cannot create a market. The Capes were down 93 points since yesterday. The upwards rally has stopped, and they closed down at 353 points, but there were 376 points up since last week's closure of 2,677 points. The Panamax, the size that in our personal view here and the view of the site is the real size that governs the market and the trades. The Panamax and their respective index, the BPI, closed down 8 points from yesterday at 1,112, which is of course just 1 point since last week's closing of 1,113 points. Caution here. The BSI, on the other hand, was up 4 points yesterday and up 26 points since last week, so it closed down at 1,200 points. 1,209 points was the closing today of the BSI. The BHSI now was up 3 points since yesterday at 647. Again, nothing spectacular. The wets, mixed feelings here. The BDTI, we had a fall here at 711, but 32 since last week. On the other hand, the BCTI, there were 1 point minus, down at 612, but 64 since last week. Caution here. At the beginning of this recapitulation, we mentioned to you about who is afraid of Virginia Woolf, the famous 1962 play by Edward Albee. Now, the real thing is who is afraid of the big bad wolf. So who is afraid of the big bad market which is coming up? And this is a very cautious message. For those that don't realize, we're telling them, come down to your senses before you bring down to the knees your clients, the ship owners, and conversely the world trade. One of the issues discussed last week was the FMC's, the Federal Maritime Commission issue of the P3, and here's all to come. Well, it's a better ending of this saga, and we hope that things will get rolling on. We have said a few months ago that we live in a free market, and those people who are interested in what the P3 is doing, let them swim alone. It's a free world. Others are doing also other ventures which are important as well, and the competition strikes up. Now, on the geopolitical front, the Crimea annexation by Russia, called annexation in 6699 or whatever, these two schools of thought, the East and the West, that, of course, is not news. We shouldn't be taken by surprise, as they like to tell us, and we should not carry on in the West the tit for tat, what, the lists are saying, who are the persona non grata and whom we should not do business with. Equally, the other side are doing the same thing. This is pure nonsense, and we must realize that They knew from the beginning Mr. Putin's attitude. Don't tell me now they found out what Mr. Putin is doing. Equally, Mr. Putin did know very well how to handle Mr. Obama. And this is a very strange turn in history, and we must make sure that this does not spill over. To put sanctions is one thing, but having the public, the popolo, as we all know it, that's the worst end you can do. Both sides will suffer if sanctions are carried out in retaliation of the one to the other side. It is, of course, of an importance of how people view the entry of Ukraine in NATO and the European Union. Come on, who is going to buy a military debt and who is going to buy an economic debt? It's like in our business of shipping. Are banks doing ship finance or they're buying debts, bad debts? That's another important issue. That counts also in geopolitics. Now, what is really striking these days is that we had the budget here in the UK, and of course the message is very simple, that austerity goes on for the foreseeable future. Now try to interpret this to the pigs, excuse my French, like countries like Portugal, Italy, Greece, Spain, et al., that they are under austerity, and the governments of these countries, in my view, and I provoke the leaders, we can come live on television, they are fooling the people. This is not on. If the United Kingdom, a country which belongs to the G7 group, a very powerful nation in the world, an exporting nation, you name it, are to be under austerity for the foreseeable future, the message we got from the Chancellor's budget, imagine in Greece. What happened to the surplus? Come on, I mean, what is going on? And we have to reiterate our view. Greek people owe nothing to nobody. It is the Greek parliamentarians who have to pay the penalty, whatever this. Still down in the Mediterranean, with Greece's sagas, we again remind the world the biggest scandal to come up is the Hellenic shipyards, the Scaramanga yard. Now, again, we're coming with some points of what's going to happen, and how it has to happen, and why it has to happen, and how others will retaliate if things don't move the way they want. It is very important. On the other hand, the Greek Minister of Mercantile Marine is pushing forward, and why not, of course, the maritime tourism. He is, of course, supported by the Ministress of Tourism, Olga Kefalogianni. So this duo, Varvitsiotis and Kefalogianni, are trying to improve this Greek asset of maritime tourism to bring jobs, badly needed, with a country of 28% of unemployment. This is great. But, having said so, both of them, they must realize that infrastructure projects are of paramount importance. The freedom between the unions, which of course next week, as you know, are coming up with more strikes, and they will not let the ships go. I mean, we're talking about ro-ro ships, passenger ships, catamarans, etc. They will be subjected to wrong unionism. Of course, it's obvious. Some owners, they owe back pay money to the crew members. They have to deal with this. It is important. You know, you need two in a tango. That's on here as well. But it's important to understand that Greece must come to reality. The port of Piraeus, which is banging around with Costco et al., now has a new white knight, sort of say. The Russians railway company are interested for Piraeus. So we're going to see very interesting things happening in the southern eastern Mediterranean. We will tweet you, of course, despite the fact that neighboring Turkey and Greece, they've got an issue on tweets. So we shall see where this carries on. Other issues which are important to understand these days is the continuation of the Malaysian misfortune flight. What we can say that still again here we have elements of the press supporting reports from politicians and others, and this is not fair. 239 families are for the time being missing their loved ones. Whatever happens, people with authority, they must come out and speak up the truth. We know dead well that nothing goes undetected in 2014. You can listen to our previous announcements and reports, and it is disgusting to carry on like this. First of all, the procedures as such, they haven't taken place, at least they haven't been announced to the international public what are the right procedures to do from the second, not just from the moment an airplane is missing or a ship is missing. And as we have said in the past, we are very sensitive if these things happen again and crew members are within these planes, it is not nice. So there are vested interests, we know this, but there are also vested family interests, and of course this war of information, the war of taking information from others must stop. I am not going to go into details with respect to the profession of many people being on board these aircraft, but these stories and these myths must end and reality must shine. On a better note, we had a very successful CMA 2014 in Connecticut last week, a great event. And there we must say that the important issue, we have two leaders, one from Spinnaker Consulting and one from V-Ships, who managed to do the right thing there and encourage the educational aspect of our business. And this is very important. There were a lot of vibrant questions in this conference and this particular event where Phil Perry and Roberto Giorgi of V-Ships, they have come close to the newcomers in the industry to support them and answers to their questions. Capital Links Forum, the 8th International Forum in Europe, ended last night. We're expecting the results. We hear of very good news there coming up. From Monday onwards, the International Gagstead 2014, which takes place from the 24th to 27th in Korea, the Context one, is coming up. Don't miss it. Log on us and see what's happening. Intermodal Asia is coming up between the 1st and the 3rd of April in Shanghai. And of course, we must remind you that immediately after this event, we go to Maritime Week in Singapore from the 6th to the 11th of April. Keep close there. Singapore is coming up as a multi-international shipping center. The Vista event went very well, and of course, Monday we will be pleased to see the super event coming to London, the Greek Shipping Hall of Fame event, the London event. Log on us, see the news, and remember, the truth must shine. In the markets, we should not encourage wrongfully the people to carry on build ships. Technology is an important aspect, it gives jobs, but we cannot follow so quickly in chains from the main engine aspect to you name it, just because if we don't do it, shipyards will have a problem. You know, those who have made their accounts well, they know how to roll over with the shipyards issue. We know that the world stands by the shipyards, the biggest industry in the world, but caution is needed. We wish you a nice weekend, all the very best. This is John FARACLAS from allaboutshipping.co.uk. Good night.